let's jump right into it. So I think that the most important thing, the first task, and it's a one-off task. It's the most important task is to do your keyword research properly. Obviously, you want to find at least 80% of all of your keywords, long tail keywords, short tail keywords, and the better you find those, and you better you organize those, the more you'll have to work with when it comes to PPC. And that's what we do. Not only do we really dive in deep into doing keyword research, but we also read manually through all the keywords, make sure that there's relevancy. If we're not sure, then we double check in Amazon to make sure that those keywords are actually relevant. And also what's very important, very, very important, is to do your negative keywords at the same time. So at the same time, you discover all the keywords. Let's say you have a black speaker, but if you set up phrase or auto, the keyword pink might keep costing you so much. Mm-hmm. So it's very important to right off the bat also grab those negative keywords and have those ready. So that is phase one, obviously, and doing your keyword research and then doing your negative keyword research, which is very, very important. So that's kind of like the first step. And the second step there, is doing your daily bid optimization. And we do daily bid optimizations. We do a data sufficiency model. So what that means is every day, we won't be looking at the same keywords, but we'll only look at the keywords that have gathered enough data. And that might be a different keyword set every day. But for you, that's a fairly advanced technique. But if you're just working from inside of your ad manager account, then you might want to just probably set it every 4 days, or that's what I would typically recommend. And to just go through and look at your bids, see if anything's getting out of control with your ACoS. So those are the two foundational steps there, and the keyword research and then the daily bid optimization. I hope, does that make sense for those? We'll get into the weekly and the biweekly in a second, but I just want to make sure that was clear and okay.
Right. So you're saying before we even start our PPC, sort of, we want to have you're saying like semantic core of keywords for the PPC or in the listing itself, you mean, ready, or for the PPC?
Yeah. Inside of PPC. And that's a great point you bring up, because another thing that we do that's very important is to check your listing indexing. Yeah. So the keywords that you've just come up with for your PPC, they're not going to perform. It's not even going to show if you're not indexing for those keywords. So you need to run a reverse check. There's a Helium 10 has a tool where you can check whether you're indexed. Check your indexing. Mm-hmm. And if you're not indexed, then you need to rotate those keywords in and out of your listing, in and out of the back end, until you are indexing, and then your PPC is going to start working. So that's just foundational, fundamental. That's where you start. Like if you don't have the right keywords, or if you're not indexing for them, if you haven't set up negative keywords, then you just don't have PPC to work with, right? So once you have that base set up, then you can move forward to your optimizations.
Right. And so, you mentioned that, again, we have our listing, we have an index, we have the semantic core of keywords that we found in our keyword research, and then we take the keywords into pay-per-click. And also you're saying straight, you are taking the negative keywords. But how do we know what are our negative keywords if we haven't run our PPC? That means you mean if we know that by our keyword research that we have in the niche, let's say it's a speaker, there's pink, green, maybe portable, and we're not portable, we take these straight away from our keyword research into the negative. That's what you mean?
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's a great example. If you have a speaker that is not Bluetooth specifically, you really would want negative exact or negative phrase Bluetooth, because it's going to cost you so much that you really want to take that out right away and negative that inside of your phrase broad or auto campaigns. Colors also, people are fairly specific, unless you have that color set in your parent child, then you probably might want to not negative exact it, but sellers will typically will know their keywords and their negative keywords off by hand. They'll be really familiar with them. So make sure to take the extra time to include those as extras, because or as negatives, because they really will save you a lot of money.
Yeah, I understand, man. That makes sense. So straight away, again, before we even start like our PPC, we just find their negative keywords. We find the keywords that we do want to use and try to run ads against. And then you mentioned daily. So that's what we do as preparation. We're prepared, then we're starting, and then we do things daily. So one of the things that you mentioned daily, as you mentioned, is a bit more advanced, right? Maybe for beginners with their first product. Again, it depends, but you are saying that maybe do that every 4 days, but maybe also daily. It's the bid optimization. So you mentioned that, let's say you're seeing that a specific keyword is maybe bringing sales, but the ACOS is very high through the roof, let's say, then you can adjust your bids, let's say, but you do that on a daily basis. And why? So why this tactic?
So I would say that, one of the things that we do when we launch a new campaign, for example, is you'll want to come in maybe every day for the first 2 weeks to make sure, because if you put in a super high volume search frequency keyword, it could really cost you a lot. Those keywords can really explode out of the gate. And if you've come back in 4 days and it was the wrong keyword and it hasn't been converting, it could really hurt you. So the first couple of weeks, I would suggest, if you're managing these keywords yourself, then come in every day after setting up those campaigns. After that, probably it's all right to come in every 4 days to give those bids a bit of time to adjust or settle in. So it really depends on the phase, especially for beginners. And then or maybe sometimes you might want to do it every 5 days. So it depends on, but typically I would say 3 to 5 or 6 days you come in and do your bid adjustments.
Cool, man. I understand. So we covered now the pre-PPC start phase, the daily phase. Is there anything else to the daily phase, or is just mainly this bids optimization? Or anything else to daily?
Is there any what? Sorry?
Is there anything else to the daily PPC optimization? Or that's pretty much...
I would say, there's so many things. You and I could probably get into a whole episode on like the metrics on how to optimize your bids. But, typically a rule of thumb that you want to go with is, make sure to monitor or understand your conversion rates. If your conversion rates are really good on your campaigns, then you can increase your bids fairly safely. There's also things like typically people look at ACOS, which is mostly now the standard nowadays is keep your ACOS at break even or maybe higher if you want to be competitive. And just look at your total ACOS, which is your tacos, which is very important to look at. And look at your, 0 sales and let's say 20 clicks. You got to figure out what your threshold is. If you have an expensive product, then it might be 50 clicks, right? If you have, like we have some clients who have products that are, $500. So we could afford 50 clicks before we even get close to having break even. So it really depends on where you are at with your pricing and everything. But that's a fairly broad topic that we could definitely get into another time as well. But for the purposes of daily bid optimizations, I would just say, keep it at like every 4 to 7 days and just figure out what the metrics are that are best for you and keep your eye on it.